Guilty Gear Strive, DNF Duel, KOF 15, Street Fighter 6, Multiverses, and the list goes on and on and on. What do these games have in common? Well, with the exception for Street Fighter 6, most of these games have been recently released games that I have played for a little bit of time, couple hours, couple of weeks, and then eventually I drop them. I never touch them again, and I've been wondering to myself, why is it that I do this with these new fighting games where I play it for a little bit and then all of a sudden I just go back to what I already know? Well, today we're going to be talking about that and much, much more. But if you don't know who I am and this is your first time to the channel, my name is Disco Wonderland and we do a lot of fighting game content. So if you end up enjoying this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps your boy out with the algorithm, all that good stuff. That being said, let's talk about these new fighting games, man. What is the problem? I have been playing fighting games for a very long time. Whenever I say that to myself, it makes me sound like I'm like this very old person. I'm only 27, so I'm still relatively young. I am almost pushing 30, but I'm not quite there yet. But I say that to say is that I've been around the block when it comes to fighting games a few times. And I still remember the first fighting game I ever played, which was Capcom vs. SNK 2, Match of the Blame. I still remember the feeling of hitting a Super Hadouken with Ryu for the first time and beating my brother to win the round. I still remember that day. And some of those memories are held close to my heart because I truly do love that game. It's one of my favorite fighting games of all time. And then I go on to play more fighting games throughout my life. Dead or Alive, Soul Calibur, Tekken, Smash, Street Fighter, of course, Marvel vs. Capcom. List goes on and on. I done probably played almost every genre of fighting game you can probably think of. Why am I telling you this? Well, it has to do with the reason why I believe I'm no longer excited for newer fighting games, or why I can't play newer fighting games for a very long time, as opposed to being able to boot up an older fighting game and be able to play that for hours. Now, when it comes to newer fighting games, most people's reasons for not liking newer fighting games nowadays is that, oh, the game is too easy, all the characters play the same, there's no player expression, no variety, creativity is lacking, yada 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 yada. And I have grown to kind of hate that rhetoric because I hear it so much. And sometimes I feel like a lot of reasons people don't like newer fighting games has to do with something inside themselves and not the newer fighting games themselves. If you ask me, I think most of the newer fighting games that have come out recently are relatively okay games. I'm not a big fan of Strive, but at high level, it is cool to watch. I'm not a super big fan of DNF Duel, but it's a gorgeous looking fighting game. And I can't tell you much about the balance of the game, but it looks cool, it looks wild, looks wacky, you know, and it looks interesting, you know. It's just not for me. Same thing with KOF 15. I actually like KOF 15, but I can't boot that up and play that for an extended period of time to save my life. I just can't do it. And it has nothing to do with the game themselves. Actually, what I think it is, and one of the reasons that I came up with why I can't get excited for newer fighting games, is that they're just simply not something I'm familiar with. It's not what I'm used to playing. Now, it sounds like a very simple, almost obvious reason. That's because it is. And I feel like maybe not for you, the person that's watching, but I feel like for a lot of people deep within themselves, they probably feel the same way, but probably aren't able to articulate it. Or it could be an entirely different reason. I could be wrong. But for me personally, if you took 3 Marvel vs. Capcom games, you put them in front of my face, let's say Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. If you put those 3 Marvel games in front of my face, you ask me, in my most humble, objective opinion, which fighting game out of these 3 is the better Marvel game? I will look you dead in your eye, and I will tell you Marvel vs. Capcom 3 without question. Now, there could be some Marvel vs. Capcom 2 OGs that'll say, Marvel 3 is such a scrubby game. Marvel 2 is obviously the better game. It's more skilled, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? All these reasons they'll have laid out. And I could simply sit there and be like, yeah, you might be right. In your eyes, this could be the better fighting game, but guess what? This is not the fighting game I grew up enjoying playing. I played Marvel 2 for a little bit. I think it's a cool game. If I had the time, I'll probably try to learn a little bit more. But I have 10 plus years of my soul deep into Marvel 3. I had played that game for so long. I've watched so many tournaments of that game. I am my conscience, my being is deeply ruined in that game. I truly believe it's one of the best fighting games ever made. And quite frankly, if you look at it from an objective standpoint, it's probably not. If we're talking balance and all this other stuff, it's probably not. But it's my favorite game, and it's the game I still play to this day. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, objectively, if I'm being honest, it's not a bad game. It was a decent game. It just looked ugly. That was his main problem. It looked ugly, and a lot of the aesthetics that carried Marvel 3 then carry into Marvel Infinite. But objectively, it's honestly a cool game, and I enjoyed it for what I played. But it wasn't Marvel 3. It wasn't what I'm familiar with. And I think that's the problem for me personally, and that could be the problem for you as well, if you're watching. So I don't think it's the problem of newer fighting games, for me at least. Because, like I said, there's some newer fighting games that are actually pretty decent. I enjoyed Multiverses for the time I played it. I thought it was a decent game. Servers are really bad, of course, and there was some like gameplay stuff I wish they could have fixed, like the hitboxes. I think they did fix those, but I didn't stick around long enough to find that out. But for the time I played Multiverses, it was a fun game. But if you put Smash and Multiverses in front of me, guess what? I'm playing Smash because that's what I grew up playing. That's what I'm familiar with. You see what I'm saying? These newer games are okay. They're not bad by any means. I can't say that for every new fighting game that comes out. But from what I see, when I look at these games, and I look at the people playing them, I'm watching the communities and see what they're saying about these games, a lot of times it's some positive things. Like the Melty Block community. People were like, you know, dogging Melty for like the shield mechanic and whatnot. And I did too for a little bit. And I eventually stopped playing Melty. Not because of shield, but because of the reason why I stopped playing other newer fighting games. It's just not what I'm used to playing. But Melty, for me, I think it's a cool game. I think it's fun. Once you get past like the whole shield mechanic and all that other stuff, and Moondrive and all that stuff, if you can go past that, it's a pretty solid game. It's fun. It has rollback. It has interesting characters in it so far. It's a cool game. But if I can be honest with you, I played old Melty, Actress again, and I had a lot more. I probably had a lot more fun playing that. But the thing is, I didn't grow up playing old Melty, but for some reason, old Melty just seemed more appealing to me. Now, I don't play either of those right now, so I don't want to use that example. But we can use like Street Fighter 5. I played Street Fighter 5 for like 2 seasons, like straight. Like I was taking it serious, and then after a while, I just dropped it because, like, honestly, there were some things about it gameplay wise I wasn't really vibing with. But that's a whole nother story. But Street Fighter 5 in its current state right now, it's probably the best it's ever been, and it's honestly quite fun whenever I do try to play it. But for some reason, I always boot up Street Fighter 4. And Street Fighter 4, even though it brought fighting games out of the dark ages, even though I do like Street Fighter 4, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's one of the best Street Fighters ever made. Honestly, gameplay wise, balance wise, it's not that great. It's fun to watch, but it's not like Chef's Kiss. It's not that, bro. It's a cool game. I like Street Fighter 4. I like Third Strike over it personally. I think that's the best Street Fighter game ever made personally. I know there's some Street Fighter 2 OGs that might disagree, but that's personal preference and personal opinion. But you get what I'm saying? When there's a new fighting game out, I tend to play the older ones because that's what I'm familiar with. And I think that's the sort of the trend for me. Now, for you, it can be totally different, but I kind of wanted to put that out there, and I want to see if people can sort of relate to that because, like, I honestly don't think these new games are that bad. I think they're pretty okay. I think right now, fighting games are in a pretty healthy state because every communities are constantly getting fed new games and getting new content, and it's cool. I just hope that, you know, this sort of trend continues, you know, even if these new fighting games aren't necessarily for me, as long as other people can enjoy them, that's what matters because that's what grows the community. And that's all I'm really about. Let the community grow. We need more growth. Like, we don't need to be putting each other down saying this game sucks, your game is so easy, it's so I can win it easily, and it's like, bro, like, shut up. Like, who cares? Like look inside yourself for once. Ask yourself, why am I not playing these games? Are these games really bad, or I just don't think they're as fun as the games I'm used to playing? Or maybe I can't really win like I used to in the older fighting games I play. That's why I hate them. Like, I want people to be able to have more honest conversations with themselves when it comes to these new fighting games. Because I would say it for the last time. These newer fighting games ain't that bad. They're not the greatest, but they ain't that bad. So I didn't want to make this a long video. I wanted to keep it short because this sort of reasoning was pretty obvious to me. And I don't think it requires like super long-winded detailed explanation, right? There could be a lot more reasons why I don't gel with the newer fighting games. Some of them are for the reasons that people express, like they're not as creative as like older fighting games, but that's a topic for another video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble. If anything I said sort of related to you, let me know in the comment section below. Actually, let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about newer fighting games nowadays? Are they fun to you? Do they scratch that itch? Do they give you that special feeling? Let me know in the comment section below. With that being said though, it's been your boy Disco Wonderland. Thank you so much for watching. If you really enjoyed the content, remember to like, comment, subscribe, help your boy with the algorithm, all that good stuff. With that being said, see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Say or she say, money in a briefcase. Nigga must be Philly, cause I'll get in that cheesesteak. Oh, that's a scummy bitch. Oh, I think that bitch is TK. She gon' learn today. I tell that bitch to do a 3-way. If you feeling lucky, I might go in for the sweepstakes. Big nuggies in this blunt, like I'm smoking or in PJ. And then like I'm